Hello everyone, I'm Grandmaster Priyadharshan Kannappan and you are watching Gyaan YouTube channel, and this is Checkmates and Chess series of videos on different checkmates that happen on different squares on the chessboard. And we are now on the C3 square, and this episode is titled Captivating C3 Square. So we started with A1 and have moved one square at a time, and now we are at C3 square. But before we look at checkmates that happen on C3 square, if you do know, we always have like a puzzle on our previous episode of the same series. So, I had given a position and asked find a checkmate on the B3 square, and this was the puzzle. So I'm going to be revealing the answer now. So if you look at this position here, I mean, black is clearly winning. Black is two pieces up, so black could play anything and win. But as it was about checkmating on the b3 square, let us see how that checkmate happened. So queen d8 check, king c6, queen c7, a very forcing move again, king b5, and then queen b6 check. So it's like queen is kind of like going right next to the king. If you look at it from here, it's like king goes here, and the queen goes here and here. So the king is being followed by the queen, I would say. And after king a4, now it's knight c5 check, king a3, queen b3, and it is a checkmate. So it was all series of forcing moves, checks, 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 and it was game over. So now let us move on to the examples that I have for the checkmates that happen on the c3 square. So this is the first position, and if you look at it, it's white to play, and this was played by Gawain Jones, Grandmaster, having the white pieces, and Nikita Matinian having the black pieces, and it looks like a fairly, like a position, like a big advantage position for white, because white has 7 pawns compared to black's 5, and it's an end game. But there's actually a very more important point than just the material. Like white could win just by simply converting the material advantage, but white noticed something very critical. I would suggest you to pause the video and think what it could be, and once you kind of get an idea, then you could play the video and see. So let me reveal now the answers. The point is that this king on d4 is very precariously positioned. It's could be checkmated anytime soon, and that's what white decides to do. White plays b3. So what b3 does is it takes away this critical escape square for the king, and now white is threatening to play c3 next move, and it is a checkmate, as all these squares are controlled by the white pawn or a piece, and it's a checkmate. So b3, black goes bishop c1, and after c3 it is a checkmate on the c3 square. So let us move on to the next example that we have. This one is also white to play, and this one is slightly more trickier than the previous one. I would suggest you to pause the video, calculate, and see how you could weave a mating net on the c3 square, or some possibilities around weaving a mating net on the c3 square. And white does it very beautifully, and let me reveal the answer for you now. And white starts with knight takes d5. So the point of this is that this bishop on d5 was pinning this knight, so there's kind of knight was not really able to get into the game. And more importantly, after knight takes d5 e d5, like how we saw in the previous example, white played b3 and restricted the king. White goes in this game rook c5, and by this white has restricted the king's activity, or the king going to this b5 square, and now the only square that's available for the king is the a4 square if he wants to go. And here a4 was played by black, and now white played c3, and it is a checkmate. So you may be thinking, maybe as black could go something like d4. So there's two ways white could increase his advantage or win the game. Like white could pick up the knight for free if needed, but there's something more simpler than that, and that starts with c3. And after d takes c3, b takes c3, check, king a4, and that is the checkmate, which is rook takes a5, and it's game over. So let's move on to the next example that I have for you. So this one is black to play. So let us flip the board. And if you look at it once again, the white's king is the target, because we're trying to checkmate the king, right? And the white's rooks are also very poorly coordinated. Look at one rook on e8, one rook on a2, no coordination. But at the same time, black's rooks are very well coordinated, supporting each other. So here, Again, in these kind of positions, the most important factor is looking at good forcing moves. Forcing moves are such a critical factor in chess. Like it, if you can kind of become an expert in spotting good forcing moves and executing them itself, you can easily increase rating points in chess. So black played rook b d1 check, and the king was forced to move to c3. And after rook takes e3 check, the king goes to b2, and there comes the checkmate move, which is c3, and it's a checkmate with the pawn because the king cannot go to any of these squares, because all these squares are controlled by black's rook or pawn and so on, and it is a checkmate. So let us go on to the next position. So this is the position that I'm going to be giving as homework or a kind of a puzzle for you to solve. And I will reveal the answers in the next video for this puzzle. And this one is slightly tougher than three examples we saw today on the C3 checkmate pattern. But again, remember, it's all about forcing moves. If you spot good forcing moves and if you can execute it the right way, you should be able to win these positions. So it's black to play, find the checkmate on c3. That's the puzzle or homework for all of you viewers. I hope you really enjoyed this video, and do support the channel by subscribing to it, and press the bell icon if you want any instant updates or notifications. And if you have any comments or feedback, please put them on the comment section, and also do share it with your friends and other chess players who would like to watch very interesting or educative chess content. Thanks everyone once again for watching the channel and this video in particular. Signing off is Grandmaster Priyadharshan. I will see you soon with a new video on this particular checkmates and chess series. Bye bye.